Hey folks, today we're going to discuss something that's very near and very dear to my stomach. Hot dogs! Don't you just love them? Actually, it's what I'm having for dinner tonight. I usually have them about at least once a week, not only because they're so tasty, but they're so fast and so easy and so cheap. They're like the prostitutes of the food chain, they really are. And much like prostitutes, they're oftentimes misunderstood and not talked about enough. So today we're going to have a discussion about the hot dog. Well, the first most obvious question would be, what's in them? And the quick answer to that would be tongues, tails, and testicles. But I try not to think about that. I don't ever like to think of my food as ever having been a living, breathing creature that eats and goes to the bathroom. So I kind of like to try to separate that in my mind. And speaking of separated, that's the main ingredient in the hot dog. It's mechanically separated turkey, pork, water, corn syrup, beef, all kinds of things. And I didn't even mechanically separate it. That doesn't even sound good, does it? I didn't even know what it was until last night, and I looked it up online. Well, it turns out it's kind of like a machine. It's kind of like a buzzard. You know how a buzzard will, once the wildcats and the hyenas get done with the buffalo, the buzzard will come and take all the pickings that's left. Basically, it's a machine that does the same thing. It separates whatever meat is left from the bones, and then everything is just thrown into a vat, and they mix it up and grind it up and turn it into like a paste. And then they shove it into these tubes to cook it in. It used to be, now all sausages used to be cooked in the small intestines of a sheep. Boy, that don't sound very appetizing. Some of them still are too. Have you ever been into it like a sausage or a hot dog that's got like that snap to it? Feels like you're biting into plastic? Well, you're biting into the intestine of a sheep. I used to think it was plastic when I was a kid. I don't know why I thought that I was eating plastic, but apparently that's what it is. But it looks kind of gross. I saw a video of them making hot dogs, and it's kind of like a pink paste. Very ugly, but it's very tasty once they're done. I love hot dogs. But hot dog, you know where the name hot dog came from, though? It actually was, people used to think that sausages were made from dogs. So apparently some sausage makers got very smart and decided to use the stereotype to their favor. I wonder how that would work if the Chinese restaurants would try to serve kitten chow mein, but it's not really cats in it, just to dispel the old stereotype. I don't think that would go over too well because I don't know how they did that. How they got people to think that there wasn't dogs in it by calling them hot dogs. It doesn't make any sense, but in the early days of hot dogs, the vendors would wear surgical smocks to reassure the people, because if people saw somebody dressed like a doctor, then they thought their food was going to be safe. I don't know why you would want your doctor serving you a hot dog, but doctors used to serve everything. I think a doctor invented Coca-Cola, didn't he? But hot dogs are definitely one of the more messy foods because they always seem to turn over and everything falls off of them while I'm trying to eat. But you know what I hate the worst of? It's when I'm sitting here trying to eat a hot dog and the bun splits open and the wiener falls out the bottom. And so I'm sitting here with a wiener and chili all over my lap and some sloppy buns in my hand, and y'all don't even have to tell me how gay that sounded. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe a couple of old queens came up with hot dogs. You sure wouldn't read it in the history books if that was the case, because you couldn't even be gay back in the day, much less invent some strange type of food and get people to eat it and get written down in the history books. So maybe that is what happened. Some old queens with a sick adult sense of humor. Girl, what is you eating? That's chili. It looks like shit. Better than what you're eating. You know there's dogs in that, don't you? I know. That's why I put it in this roll here, because it kind of masks the flavor a little bit.
Really?
Know what I mean?
I don't even have to tell you what that looks like.
Won't you be quiet and let me eat my dog while it's still hot?
Here, have some chili on your dog.
Oh my God, girl, you is stupid! Oh, you know what? That ain't half bad.